Hello, and welcome back to Objective Truth. I'm Nissa.
And I'm Caleb.
And we really did not plan on uploading more than one time a week.
No. We're winging it tonight, just so you know. We're just kind of flying by the seat of our pants, but there's just so much stuff that I really wanted to get out. And I was trying to save it up for the video. I know I ranted a lot to her today about all of this stuff, but now I feel like, guys, have you ever had that those times where you're like, oh man, that would have been such a good argument, whenever you got in an argument with your wife or whatever, and it's way later, after the conversation happened or whatever. That's kind of how I feel today, but hopefully I can put some good thoughts together. But there's just so much to talk about. This is going to be about the Uvalde shooting mainly, and maybe some gun control a little bit. We're going to let the conversation kind of morph into whatever it's going to morph into, but that's kind of what got us started today. So, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
That's okay. I know that you've been kind of chomping at the bit here to talk about this. As most everyone knows, there was a shooting at Robb Elementary in Uvalde, Texas. 19 children and teachers were killed. Horrible thing that happened.
Mostly preventable, as we now are finding out. And that it just compounds to how horrible the event actually was, because yeah, I'm going to break down in tears probably several times throughout this video. I have been silent most of the day today and let him do most of the talking, because if I were to talk about this, I would lose it. As a mother, especially a mother of small children, it's really hard for me to think about children being in danger. And especially when the people who are supposed to protect our children don't. And not even, they don't protect them. It wasn't even that they tried. They didn't even try. And not even just not trying, but actually actively stopping people who actually did want to do something, who were wanting to act on the situation to stop what was happening. So the more and more that comes out of this Uvalde investigation,
left my drink over here.
It gets worse and worse and worse. I came home today after I was watching. I watch a lot of Steven Crowder. I watch Daily Wire, obviously. I came home today and I asked her. I was like, "What is the worst thing that you think you know about the Uvalde shooting?" What was it at that time?
At that time, I don't even remember, because there's so much more stuff that I know now since that moment. I believe the worst thing I knew. Do you remember what I said?
That the door wasn't locked
9 hours ago. Oh yeah, that it wasn't. That the door was not locked, and they said that they tried to get in and it was locked.
I have a list. I have a list of things. Hold on, I'll be right back.
The list of lies.
Yes.
The worst thing I knew was how blatantly they had lied about the fact that the door was locked. Well, come to find out, it's impossible for that door to be locked from the inside.
Actually, I don't have them with me.
Oh.
Dang it, I left them in the truck.
Well, and not only that, we actually know from footage that they didn't even try.
Yeah, we have it on surveillance video that they didn't. Okay, so let's just break this down real quick. So
we maybe should just go we should probably just put a timeline out there first.
Well, that's what I'm about to do. So we were originally told that there was a district school officer and I guess 2 other police officers or something like that who had engaged the shooter before he went into the school, and they all 3 were injured. Now, at the time, I'm thinking, okay, I guess that's plausible that this 18-year-old kid, by the way, shot outshot a district police officer and 2 other officers. I was like, okay, I guess it could happen. Either this kid is an extremely good shot, and they were terrible shots, or he got lucky with all 3 and he didn't get wounded at all. So I was already questioning the official story that came out.
It was a little sus.
So that was what we were originally told, that there was a district officer and 2 other officers that were injured. All 3 were injured, and then he goes into the school. Okay, that turned out to be false. By the way, that there's actually not even an ounce of truth in that report. It's not like someone got their facts wrong. It's not like someone just mixed up a couple of facts here and there and just happened to get the events wrong and just reported it, mishandled the information. No, that information was flat out a lie, a false
complete
report,
fabrication,
complete fabricated. That did not happen, and in fact, they admitted it days later. This is the most colossal screw up of policing I've ever seen.
Egregious failure.
But so then again, what was the next thing that we were told that turned out to be a lie? I had a list of it and I completely missed it. I had them written out. We were told that the suspect barricaded himself in the room. False. Just flat out a lie. False. What else were we told?
Chief Arredondo said that he tried 12 keys on that door.
Yeah. So the chief, the on-site commander who told these guys to not go in because he thought the suspect barricaded himself, or whatever his excuse was at the time, said that he tried key after key. There's actually a quote out there, easily findable if you just Google it. There's a quote from him saying, I tried 12 keys praying that one of them would work.
With every key I tried, I was just
praying.
And
it turns out that this particular door, it turns out can't be locked from the inside.
I'm flabbergasted at, I mean, if you're, okay, all right, I'm not trying to give them any kind of credit, but if you're going to lie, you should probably at least have your facts straight about the circumstances surrounding your lie before you put it out there.
You would think. You
would know that the door was locked or unlocked before you flagrantly say it was locked.
It is so confusing on like, I've been trying to figure this out. There's no common sense to why they handled the situation the way they handled it and why they're continuing to handle the situation after it happened. So they completely fabricated a story about, like, you know, there was a district, somebody had engaged the officer before he went in there. Completely false. All this other stuff ended up being false. Pretty much everything you learned from day one after the shooting turned out to be false. Completely fabricated. Other than the actual facts of the story, which was there was a shooter.
Yeah.
And he did shoot his grandmother before coming to, and there was 911 call 15 minutes. The grandmother had gone to her neighbor's house, had them phone 911 because she had just gotten shot. She survived, by the way. Yes. She was only wounded. She got shot in the face. So, just kudos to her for surviving. But there were...
And then when he gets to the school, he's walking around with a bag of dead cats.
No. That wasn't...
Was that Uvalde or was that somebody else?
No, they were talking about the Uvalde shooter, but he wasn't doing that at the time.
Oh, that was he had been seen.
He had been like there was a photograph, I guess. I don't know. I haven't checked into that.
When people had called 911 to report a kid is walking around with a rifle outside the school.
Right.
And he
yeah,
wasn't...
yeah. No. So, okay. So the other thing, before he goes into the school, it was confirmed that someone actually saw him, called 911, and then they had this man had his wife bring him his gun from home, had a chance to stop the shooter. This is not an officer. This is a regular Joe. And the police who were on scene stopped him from engaging the shooter. This is before the shooter goes into the school. And then the police proceed to do nothing.
Yeah.
Stopping someone from engaging, then proceeds to do nothing. So
yeah, he was. They knew he was out there. There was a 911 call that stated, "Hey, there's a guy walking around a school with a rifle," and so then this guy tried to stop him. He was not allowed to stop him, and then the shooter. By the way, we are not going to say the shooter's name. We're not going to give recognition to mass shooters.
You're following a Daily Wire.
Yes. Daily Wire, Blaze. Yes. I completely subscribe to not giving them recognition.
Totally agree with that.
This is about the victims. This is not about the psychopath, horrific individual. But, they did not allow anyone to stop him. No, he could have been stopped before he even went into the school.
Oh, but now, okay, so now we're learning.
And then he walked in undisrupted into an unlocked door.
Yeah, and we're going to get to that. So up to today, I was so angry today. I was so angry because up to today, I was already angry. I was already angry at the police because they did nothing. They didn't do anything. So let's assume for a minute that the facts that I learned today, I had not learned yet. Okay, let's go back like a couple days ago when no one knew this yet.
I will be right back.
And everyone is assuming that the door was locked and that the suspect had barricaded himself. Whatever the original story was from the chief of the school district, on-site commander. Let's assume that we go back. Let's go back to those for a minute, and let's assume for argument's sake that was all true. What is stopping the police from going into that room? A locked door? I'm sorry. Do police not go inside locked doors? Do they go inside locked doors?
Last I checked.
Yeah, they go inside locked doors all the time. They have tools. Okay, they're the police. This is common sense. Okay, they have crowbars.
In fact, they found out that they had a crowbar with them.
They did, but I'm not even like talking about that for a second. Let's assume all of these things were true. That the door was locked and all that. There is no excuse. There is still no excuse to not going into that room.
Absolutely not.
There's still no excuse. You shoot the lockout. You do something. I mean, okay, so like there was one argument that I read about that was like, well, it's a steel locked door and you can't kick those in. Okay, I get that. Have you ever seen like one of those huge battering rams that SWAT it comes in and kicks? That's what it's meant for. It's meant for those doors that are steel locked and can't be kicked down, simply kicked down. It's there to break. Literally
battering ram for a reason.
You have a crowbar. You have something, which they did, by the way. We learned later on. They did have a crowbar, at the very least. But none of this now matters because of the new fact that we learned. Well, technically, a lot of people learned it yesterday. I learned it today, but I was absolutely flabbergasted. The door wasn't even locked. And the original reporting that, oh, they tried to go in and the door was locked and we tried to false. All of it was a lie. It is a flat out lie. Flat out lie. Because we have surveillance video.
Yeah. I mean, if this was planned, you would think that they would have been smart enough to turn off the interior cameras. Sorry, that was a little bit of my conspiracy theorist.
Oh no, we're gonna get to that. We're gonna get to that, and I don't want anybody to be turned off by that. You're gonna see, but okay, all right, yeah. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. The door wasn't even locked. Okay.
Why all these lies?
Good question. Good question. Why not go in the first place?
Why not do your job to protect?
I don't care. I don't care if your on-scene commander tells you to not go in. You sit. Okay. Testimony from the it was the Texas Secretary of Safety, Director of Safety, Steve McGraw. I can't remember his official title. Was giving testimony that 3 minutes after the shooter entered the building, he could have been stopped. I am not saying that there could not have been casualties or wasn't going to be casualties. Maybe 1, 2, maybe 3 or 4. But how? 3 minutes.
Safety. Yes.
What is it?
Department of Public Safety.
Department of Public Safety for Texas, right?
Yeah.
So Steve McGraw, 3 minutes. 3 minutes after he enters the school, not the classroom, the school, they could have breached and killed the shooter. And perhaps the majority of the people in that classroom could have been still alive. Majority.
And you know, all of them could have still been alive if they paid attention to the original 911 call and detained him when he was outside the school with the rifle. The entire thing.
It's not the fact that they weren't paying attention to the 911 calls.
No, it's the
fact that they failed to act on any of it.
They
just completely did not do anything.
Did not do anything.
They didn't do anything except stand in the freaking hallway and look aggressive.
Hardly even looked aggressive. They were hiding behind a brick wall. It's kind of.
What are you doing? I'm sorry, but even anyone who is untrained. These are police officers, by the way. Okay, and if you're a police officer, all respect for you, but
I hope that you would not.
You should see this.
Obey immoral commands. It was immoral to tell them for the on-site commander to tell the police officers do nothing. Wait for rifles, wait for SWAT, wait for ballistic shields, wait for this, wait for that.
Well, I mean, Steve McGraw even said, he's like, it was an abject failure. This is a direct quote. Abject failure of law enforcement, and the on-site commander chose to put officers' lives in front of the children's. Okay, this is your job. If you don't want to be in harm's way, if you don't want to put yourself in harm's way on behalf of another human being, then you shouldn't be a police officer.
Exactly.
It comes with the job description. This is what happens. That you're going to get calls like this. Oh. And they had just had active shooter training 2 months prior to this, okay?
Yeah.
By the way, which they also pointed out in the testimony, and they failed to even follow the protocol of the training that they received. And there's actually documentation that you can go read of the protocol for what they received. If you guys want them, we can put them in the comments. We'll try to find them later. But I was reading them earlier today. I can't even say where I was reading it. It was a news article that gave a link to the documents. I think it was natural news.
Natural news.
I could be wrong. Some natural something. But you're a police officer. That's what you do. And they completely failed at their own training. But even more than that, any untrained person who has any sense of selflessness would have done more than these cops.
Yeah.
You don't have to be you don't have to be a special forces agent, okay, to understand that if you're a generally selfless person or a morally upright person in any sense, you don't have to be a Navy SEAL in order to understand that this was a failure. This is a complete and utter failure to action. This is cowardice. There's no other way to put this. This is cowardice.
I mean, okay. Caleb and I have a little bit more training with firearms than your average bear. But even if I had none, even if I did not practice with my gun in high-stress environment, even if I did not have any of that, even if I didn't even have a gun, if I were there, I would have gone in and thrown myself on that shooter to give somebody else a chance to take him down. You would have done
something.
I would have done anything I could.
Something, anything.
I would not have stood in the hallway peeking around a corner. Not a chance.
Not to mention that they actually were stopping the parents, who were unarmed, by the way, unarmed parents, okay, trying to get in the school because they saw the police not doing diddly squat.
There was a mother who went in. She was told to go back to her vehicle. And she went around another way and basically had to sneak into the school to get her kids out.
She did.
Down the hall. She said she could hear the fire of the gun going off. She could hear it. And she got to her kids in their classrooms, got them out of that school.
Slow clap to her, by the way.
Amazing.
But there were other parents who now do not, they have dead children now, by the way, who are trying to get into the school. And they were stopped by the very police who sat there and did nothing. They were doing more to stop people from going in than they were doing to stop the shooter. This should make you really question what in the world, what the heck is actually happening. This is a colossal screw up at best. At best. It is the worst possible police failure scandal that you will ever hear of. Probably go down in history.
This is unfathomably horrible.
And that's the best case scenario. And we'll get into that. The worst case scenario, which with how much keeps getting brought to light about in this investigation about the shooting. Okay, so another thing, you wouldn't think that it would get any worse than the door. Finding out that the door is unlocked, and they didn't even try. They didn't even try to open the door. They didn't jiggle the handle. They didn't do nothing. They didn't even touch the doorknob. We have surveillance video saying that they did not even try to go in or open the door at all. We have surveillance video showing them with riot shields, ballistic shields, whatever you want to call them, rifles, armor, gear. They were ready to go in. On-site commander said no. If you're one of those police officers, 19 of them, by the way, what are you thinking in that moment? What would you, if you're in that position, if you're one of those police officers, put yourself in their shoes for a second. You'll find there's no excuses. There's just no excuses. I don't know where they found these 19 police officers.
We haven't even spoken about Officer Weiss yet.
That's not, I think it was Weiss. I heard Steve McGraw say, or it wasn't Steve McGraw. It was somebody else during the testimony say Officer Weiss. But yeah, so this is what I was leading up to. You would think that it was bad enough that they didn't even try to get into the door that was unlocked, that they lied about and said that was locked, by the way. They didn't even try. You would think that it couldn't get any worse than that, right? What if I said that you were wrong? What if I said that there is something even worse than that? What would you say? Because it keeps getting worse. All new facts that are coming out about this investigation is unearthing. It just gets worse. So, is that the man's name? Reuben Ruiz? Reuben Ruiz. She was one of the teachers inside that classroom that died. He gets a call from his wife, who has been shot, and says, I am dying. He, who is in the hallway, by the way, he is in the school. He is part of those guys. He's standing outside the hallway.
School district police officer.
He is there. He is inside the school. He gets a call from his wife saying, I was shot. I am dying. He breaks rank and tries to go into the classroom to, I would assume, rescue his wife, right? Or do something to save his wife because he just got a call. And guess what the police officers do? Instead of actually going in the classroom with him to stop the shooter, they detain him.
And disarm him.
They
take his gun and restrain him.
What is happening? What is happening?
This goes.
This is beyond a joke.
So far beyond.
This is beyond a joke or a failure. This is beyond that now. So, knowing all of these things, how hard the police were trying to keep people out, but they were doing literally nothing to actually, if they had even put in half the effort of getting in the classroom that they did to stopping people from saving their own children, saving their wife, maybe they could have stopped the shooter. Maybe at least half of those kids would be alive. Or maybe his wife, who is injured, could have gotten help. Could have been saved. Could have intervened to put pressure on the wound. Could have stopped the bleeding. Done something. We won't know. All we know is that they did nothing, and this is enough. They did absolutely nothing to go into the classroom, but they sure as heck did their darndest to keep people out of that classroom. Why? Does that not add up to make a big question mark? And I'm surprised that actually no conservative talk shows or people talking points at this point, or like I haven't heard anybody say it yet. I haven't heard anybody talk about it, but it's obvious to me, and I was saying it from day one.
Yeah.
This just smells. And it keeps getting worse. It keeps getting like... it just smells so bad.
It's almost like you can't mess up this badly.
No, it's such a colossal screw up.
You can't mistakenly mess up this badly.
And if you do actually screw up this bad,
oh, you should never ever.
How in the world did you even
ever again?
How did you even pass 5th grade if you screwed up this bad?
Yeah, let alone actually make it to become a police officer.
That's what I'm trying to say. It's almost like, and I'm not going to say that it was, I don't know for sure, but you're going to see my conspiracy theorist side a little bit, and you maybe ask the same questions. Was this on purpose? Why would it be on purpose? So I'm going to follow one of all right. So one of my favorite TV shows is Game of Thrones. Yes, I know you can hate me now. I love the complexity of it, but I'm referencing it for a reason. One of the characters, his name is Peter Baelish. Okay, and during time he was talking to Sansa Stark. Okay, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, don't worry about it. It'll make sense here in a minute. Something that he said, and it just reminded me of it. If he's trying to figure out the motives of someone, he imagines every possible logical end that they could have for why they're doing what they're doing. And then he assumes the worst. He assumes the worst, and then that way, if they're not, trying to do what he thinks they're trying to do, then he's pleasantly surprised. So what is the one thing that they could gain, which at the end of the day, it really doesn't make sense because they're so bad at lying anyway. But I mean, at the same time, the people who have actually been caught in conspiracies haven't been that great at lying.
Yeah,
they've been caught in lying. So I can't rule that out because of how bad someone is at lying. Because it doesn't. At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. Like, for instance, Jeffrey Epstein. Everyone knows Epstein didn't kill himself. Okay,
but yet that's still the official story. It is still the official story.
2 guards fell asleep at the same time, blah, blah, blah. Well, it turns out later that, they were paid off. And didn't one of them commit suicide?
I believe that's
I'm
accurate.
Sorry. Committed suicide. I could be wrong. I was thinking about that earlier today, and I haven't fact-checked it yet, so don't quote me on it. But everybody knows that Epstein didn't kill himself. Obviously, the logical end of that was because he was about to open the just absolute Pandora's box on the Clintons and the child sex ring, and all of this stuff. So that's why they killed him. No one with half a brain
believes that he actually committed suicide.
It doesn't take rocket science to figure out why that happened. So what would be the purpose? What would be the logical end to them purposely allowing a shooter to rampage and kill 21 people? 19 children?
19 children and 2 teachers.
What is the logical end? Well, I mean, I'm going to take a guess here, and I haven't figured it out. So if you guys have any ideas, please feel free to share. Midterms are coming up. And one thing I said, right after it happened, was here comes the gun control debate again. Something that hadn't even been a national story, a news headline for going on 2 years because of COVID. But guess what?
Yeah, amazing how there were no mass shootings during COVID.
I mean, there may have been, but they weren't.
Yes, but
they weren't making national headlines,
right?
Okay, we weren't in a mass shooting.
We weren't inundated with these multiple media coverages.
Everyone was going on about COVID.
Right.
Democrats were going on about COVID and how much, lockdowns and you need to wear masks and blah, 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 blah. And then COVID dies. It essentially, like the argument of COVID and like, you know, it's dead. It died.
Yes, the horse has died. And they finally stopped beating it.
And it had just died. Pretty much. No one was really talking about COVID anymore. Yeah, you have it, like, it's kind of like a daily thing now, like COVID references. But no one's, like, forcing you to wear masks anymore. Like, no one's, like, really talking about, like, yeah, they're talking about the vaccines, but that's not even that
right.
top of a headline right now. There's other stuff going, but it's not like a blaring headline like it was for 2 years straight. Okay? And which was a change, because it had been a blaring, you know, fear COVID.
And people were actually starting to get back to life, and people were actually starting to get back to normal, and the fear meter was going down.
Exactly. Fear meters, and that's liberals' tactic, is to get you to fear anything and everything. Fear is a tactic. It is a useful tactic.
Fear.
Because it lends itself to easier control over a population. So, what do? Well, let's revive the gun debate again. Let's revive the mash. We have to keep people scared. Scared that your kids are in danger because of these conservative right-wing radicals have guns. Second Amendment. And that, you know, it's all back to common sense gun laws, whatever. So midterms are coming up, and the Democrats know that they're toast as long as the election is legitimate, which is even a question now. But midterms coming up, they're going to need something, right? They need something to try to gain a foothold.
They can't run on social issues because they've completely lost the parents because of them trying to push CRT and other horrible theories into the classroom. So parents are completely not on the side of the Democratic agenda, the Democrat agenda, not Democratic, Democrat. They've lost the parents' vote. So now, go kill some kids to bring the gun control debate back up.
And notice how, again, it's always kids that really, because it's always a horrible thing when, you know, a mass shooting happens. We're not arguing that point at all, that it's not a horrible thing. But doesn't it, and you can admit this, that's fine. Doesn't it just kind of tug at your heart a bit more when it's children? I'm not saying that murder is murder, period. And it always breaks my heart. It does. But it's kids. Fourth graders. Okay. How old is Nicole?
9.
At what grade?
She's going to be 9.
Second grade, right? Second. Just a few years older than my oldest daughter.
11 and 12-year-olds.
And what they want you to do is make emotional decisions, which is now what's happened, because we now have a gun bill, which it's bad. There's nothing good in the gun bill, but I'm not saying it's a complete devastation to gun laws and Second Amendment. But it doesn't really matter. It's still an infringement.
Yeah.
But what does the Second Amendment say?
Shall not be infringed.
Shall not be infringed. I'm pretty sure there's no room for error. And there was a purpose for that, by the way. Because the founding fathers knew that if there is any room for error for this specific right to keep and bear arms, they would find a way to take it away, which they have already.
Yeah.
They already have. You already, like Florida. I love our state. I love our governor. I love the way we're running our state right now. But we're still kind of behind on the gun law.
We still haven't gone to constitutional carry.
Still haven't gone constitutional carry, which I'm disappointed about. It's on the docket. I get it. We'll get to it, and I understand all the arguments of why DeSantis is waiting on that and all that kind of stuff. I get it. Okay, I don't really even care that much. I got my concealed carry permit. I'm fine.
I'm going to say something controversial here. And it's even controversial among conservatives.
No, you're about to tick somebody off?
The Second Amendment is not about hunting. The Second Amendment is not...
I don't know of a conservative who actually thinks it is.
Oh, I know plenty. But
who thinks it's only about hunting?
Well, no, it's more this sentence I'm about to say that people
Oh, okay,
think.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
The Second Amendment is not about protecting your home from invaders. It is not about protecting your home from thieves.
Nope.
It is not about protecting your home from...
Can you pull up an exact
the Second Amendment,
wording of the Second Amendment? Because it actually states in the Second Amendment what this is for.
Yes, it tells you why the Second Amendment is in there.
They were
pretty
pretty darn clear about this. Okay,
there's not about protecting your property.
That's a sub right.
Yes.
Of it, but that is not the purpose of the Second Amendment. Oh, and yeah, we're going to open up a whole can of worms with this.
I know. I thought maybe I shouldn't, but Second Amendment. A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed.
So if that wasn't clear to you, being necessary to the security of a free state. That is the purpose of the Second Amendment. Staying free.
What's that quote? But when a government by the people, despot, it's not only their right, but it's their duty to throw off such government. Who said that? Was that Thomas Jefferson? I will find that.
I'm trying to follow.
Yeah, I know.
What the if
he quotes it in National Treasure.
Oh, yeah. I'm not sure.
I'll remember that in a second.
You gonna Google it?
I am.
Okay. So necessary to a free state. Our founding fathers knew exactly what they were doing. They had just fought a war to fight off tyranny. Okay, they knew what they were doing and why they were doing it. And now the Democrats, who have been forever, it's like such a
I believe it's in the Declaration of Independence, just for the record.
Could be
what I'm looking for.
It's like it gets so old with the Democrats talking about gun laws, and because they've been doing it for decades. Okay, about guns, they banned assault weapons in the 1990s, and then whatever happened to that. Anyway, so this has just been a Democrat talking point this whole entire time. And the thing is it puts us conservatives on the defensive all the time because, well, it's kind of the nature of a conservative to be on the defensive because we're trying to conserve, right? So if we're trying to just kind of keep what we have and, just trying to keep everything together the way we had it, and liberals, Democrats, progressives are constantly trying to push against it, obviously we're going to always be on the defensive. But oh, you found it. Okay, so go ahead.
It is in the Declaration of Independence, yes. Excerpt reads, "Prudence indeed will dictate that governments long established should not be changed for light and transient causes, and accordingly all experience hath shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer while evils are sufferable, than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty, to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. Such has been the patient sufferance of these colonies, and such is now the necessity which constrains them to alter their former systems of government."
Okay, yeah, so we are going to take some people.
Right there is why the Second Amendment is in our Constitution.
And we are going to take some people off right now because it's in the Declaration of Independence.
And for you Christians who say that we don't need a second revolution, why do you think that the First Revolutionary War was okay to throw off the despotic government, but it wouldn't be okay now?
Yeah,
I need some explanation from you on that, because I keep hearing this argument from so many Christians. Well, the Revolutionary War was okay, and God was okay with that one, but we couldn't do it today. Explain to me. I beg of you.
Yeah, it doesn't really make
it's a false
really make any
equivalency,
sense.
and you can't say that.
We have a government who has consistently, for the past 20 years, at the very least
20 years,
infringed on our constitutional rights. And I'm not even talking about the Second Amendment. We have consistently our First Amendment rights being stripped from us. You have to refer to people by their pronouns or else you go to jail. Weren't they threatening that in California? You have to.
Yes.
They were trying to make it a crime to not. Okay, at the here, and I know some of y'all disagree with me on this.
The American government not only has been infringing on the constitutional rights, the American government has been directly going against God. They first removed God from the schools. Then they started this whole stupid nonsense of separation of church and state, which, by the way, doesn't exist. The only thing that separation of church and state refers to is the fact that the government better stay out of the church's business, not the other way around.
The separation of church and state doesn't actually.
No, that's not a thing.
That's not even in the Constitution, and they like to talk about what they're talking about is the Establishment Clause.
Yeah, I know.
Which is a whole different thing, but we're not even going to get into that tonight. But yeah, so at what point? I mean, I always have said that, our founding fathers would have been shooting by now.
Yeah.
I mean, goodness sake, they started a revolution over a 2% T-tax. Okay. At what point?
All they wanted was representation.
At what point is it okay to start saying enough is enough and start dragging these politicians out by their shirt collars and kicking them out?
Say, hey, by the way,
but
you work for me.
You have to do it with the system. We have to vote them out and blah blah blah. That's not what that says. That's not what the Declaration of Independence says. Now, okay, I'll give you that. The Declaration of Independence was not written before was written before the Constitution, before we had these voting, amendments and all that kind of stuff. Okay.
But it was written by the same people.
And we still have the Second Amendment for the security of the free state. Oh, who said the person who trades freedom for security ends up losing both?
I don't remember who said that, but yes, yeah.
At what point?
Sounds like something Captain America said in Captain America Civil War, but I don't think it was.
Oh, that was actually another point I wanted. So I was having a debate with a friend the other day who wanted to. We were talking about the Uvalde shooting. We were talking about gun rights and
Benjamin Franklin.
Yeah, I thought it was Benjamin Franklin. Yeah. I just didn't want to say.
People willing to trade their freedom for temporary security deserve neither and will lose both.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I thought it was Benjamin Franklin. I just didn't want to say for sure because I could have been wrong. Because I have a lot of these things in my head, but I don't have the computer in front of me. She does all the fact checking. So
yes, I have a laptop right here. If you see me randomly just kind of look down and do stuff in any of our videos, that's me fact checking stuff because we do want to make sure that we are factually accurate in everything that we say. And if we do mess up something in a video, I will make sure that after the fact we will correct it either in the comments or in the info box, something. But maybe I'll edit a part and try to fix it, but I'm not really so great with the editing yet. We're working on that. But yes, that's why you keep seeing me do la 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 things over here.
You're making me lose my train of thought.
Sorry, you were talking with a friend.
Oh yeah, so I was having a conversation with a friend.
I got you.
Yeah, thank you. About let's say that tomorrow Florida decided to go open carry or constitutional carry, whatever. What would that mean? And what kind of limitations would that be? Obviously, we don't want to go overboard. People carrying AR-15s or assault rifles, whatever you want to call them, out in public, like just randomly, just because they can. That's obviously an abuse of your freedom. Okay, I'm not. You can't prosecute them because they're not breaking the law, but that there is some common sense that belongs with this. And I think what does Michael Knowles always say? Your freedom doesn't give you the right to.
Yeah.
First off, let me make up my own thing. Your freedom does not give you the right to not act logically. Did I say that correctly? To
act illogically would be easier to say, but yeah.
To what?
To act illogically. Your freedom does not give you the right to act illogically.
Yeah, that's a better way of saying it. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Your freedom does not give you the right to act illogically. And that's, of course, logic is, nowadays, it's subjective. So, but
it's also in short supply.
But anyway, so we were talking about that and blah, blah, blah. And he was kind of being devil's advocate with me. I don't even remember what point I was trying to make. But I remember what we're trying. He was arguing, well, you have to do it slow. You have to you have to do it slowly so that, the culture kind of gets back used to that type of deal. I understand the sentiment behind that, but I disagree with it. I disagree with it because you don't, and I'm going to compare it to a poison. Okay. Our rights as Americans have been stripped away from us. Okay. Our constitutional rights have been infringed. There is no getting around that. You can't say they haven't, because they have. The very fact that you have to have a permit in order to carry a gun is an infringement on your right to bear arms. And in fact, like my friend who I was talking with, he was being devil's advocate and saying, well, why is that an infringement on your right to bear arms? It's giving you the right to bear arms. You just have to have no. Just no. Like the fact that you have to have something extra on top of the Constitution in order to bear arms, infringement. And it says that in the Constitution, shall not be infringed. Okay? It's breaking the law. It's breaking the Constitution. It's unlawful. Thomas Jefferson said, if a law is unjust, a man is not only right to disobey it, but he's obligated to do so. One of my favorite quotes from him. I have lots of problems with philosophies of Thomas Jefferson, but one of those that he's on point right there. But yeah, we are going to take a couple people off, because at what point, at what point do we say enough is enough with our government and call it? Do a tactical retreat at the very least on the state level? Secede? Regroup? Oh, I remember we already tried to do that once in our history. Peacefully, by the way. Weren't allowed to. Whole war started. I think Abraham Lincoln, and you can disagree with me, if I'm not going to mince words with people, Abraham Lincoln made the wrong decision on forcing a war with the South. He should have let them secede, which he originally agreed to, by the way. And it wasn't until the discrepancy at Fort Sumter that all of a sudden, and I'm not even going to get into that. He lured the South into a war. If you want to disagree with me, email us. I don't care.
You can email us, by the way, onlyobjectivetruth@gmail.com.
Please, I'd like to have a conversation with you about that. But Abraham Lincoln made the wrong decision, plain and simple, because you can't, and I'm going to go back to the Revolutionary War again and using the same philosophy. You can't say the South was wrong for wanting to secede when that's literally what the colonies did from the British government. Okay? We asked multiple times to George III, please let us be an independent nation. We want this. We have colonies who have signed the petition. Not all colonies, by the way. Not all the colonies were for being
our own nation.
Our own nation. Not all the colonies were.
Right.
But the ones that were sent a Declaration of Independence after we had tried to get George's ear multiple times And he was basically not letting us do our own thing. He was taxing the crap out of us with no representation. Obviously, taxation without representation. We had enough. The South had their reasons. If you want to say slavery, whatever, I disagree. The Civil War was not fought on slavery. And you can disagree with me on that if you want to, but that's been a huge talking point for decades and decades and decades, which can easily be disproven. But you can't tell me that the South was wrong for wanting to secede when that's what the colonies did with the British government. If you agree with if you agree with the revolution, if you agree that we had to basically withdraw from the British government and be our own nation, and we were good with that, and claim that the South, who had multiple states, sign a petition saying we declare ourselves an independent nation from the Union, and we hope that you're okay with that. We just want to be our own thing. We just want to do our own thing. Isn't that the core belief of a conservative anyway? Leave us alone. Let us do our own thing. Let's you guys do that over there. Okay, you do that over there. We'll do this over here. I hope you guys have fun. Okay, that's what the South was trying to say.
We want you to have your freedom within the bounds of morality.
But if you claim that that was wrong, and it would be wrong for us now to say we're seceding from the Union because the Union no longer represents a godly nation, which, by the way, the Founding Fathers said the Constitution was written for a godly people. We are no longer a godly people. But we do have states in which the majority of, and I live in one of them, by the way, the majority of those people have morals. I'm not saying that they're Christians. I'm not saying that, but they are godly people in their basic moral belief systems. Okay? They have morals. They have godly morals for the most part. They want to preserve that, our American way of life, our American values, which was founded on Christian principles. We have states that would easily you could easily get hundreds of thousands of signatures, and we have
quite possibly millions,
wanting to let's go ahead and let's secede. In fact, California already tried to do this, but they are on the
tried to split into a north and a south.
Yeah, there was actually talks about that because the Northern Californians are not being represented properly because of the massive population of liberals who is in the South California. They were trying to break it into a half, which I still think is a great idea. And I have family that live in North California. They said it would be a bad idea for the economy, blah, blah, blah. What's the alternative? Staying where you are? What is the alternative? So what if the economy takes a crap for a few minutes?
You guys the whole nation's about to go into a recession anyway.
You guys can figure it out. There's no reason, but I made this point the other day with her about something, and it was about something completely different, but the same principle still applies. When you're not localizing or singling out a problem, you're spreading it throughout the entire country, which is what we're doing right now. You're spreading it like butter instead of scooping it up and putting it in one place.
Right.
Okay. So let's say Northern California did split into two different states, and all of a sudden now North California has its own House of Senate and House of Representatives, and they have representatives in Congress and blah blah blah. They have to go through all that. They could become our 51st state. Let's say their economy takes a dive because they no longer, the Northern Californians or the California government has no longer the ability to get the taxes from the commerce and everything that the Southern California economy is built on because it's a tourist state.
Right.
It's Northern California is a lot of farmland, everything fine. where was I going with that?
It's a whole lot easier to bail out.
It's a whole, yeah, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
It's a whole lot easier to fix one state than to fix two who has the same problem.
Right.
A different problem, but the economy is still taking a crap, by the way, in California. And
it's absolutely falling apart.
It's completely falling apart. And the people that live in Northern California who are mostly conservative versus the liberals who live in the South, they're not being represented properly because they have this entire half of their state that lives completely opposite to what they do. Believe in completely different things. And liberals and conservatives, I'm sorry, they're just not coexistent anymore. They have two completely opposite minds. Then okay, so let's correct ourselves here because classical liberals, completely fine. John F. Kennedy was a classical liberal. Ronald Reagan, classical liberal. And Ronald Reagan, by the way, is touted as one of the most conservative presidents we've ever had. But one of the things that he said was that Democratic Party left me. I didn't leave the Democratic Party. Sorry, did I say that wrong?
You said Democratic. Democrat and the Democrat
Party
are different words.
I didn't leave the Democrat Party. The Democrat Party left me, I believe is this exact quote. We have progressives now, which they've always been kind of touted as progressives, more or less. But we have
because if you're not being a conservative, you are being progressive.
Yes. We're going to probably refer to them as progressives now. So we have progressives in the southern half of California, conservatives in the northern half, who are not being represented because of the progressives in the southern half, who dominate all of voting precincts, and they can't outvote them because of how much population they have in
centralized major cities.
One city.
Yeah.
And that was actually one of the things that on a bigger scale the founding fathers were smart about and gave what am I looking for? The country so like basically the majority isn't deciding.
Oh, the republic.
It's not mob rule.
We have a democratic republic.
Instead
of a straight democracy.
The electoral college.
Yes.
Is what I'm referring to. Electoral college. And for a long time I thought, majority should, it's not fair if the majority wants one thing and you're giving them a different thing. Well, I thought that was unfair, which I mean, in a logical sense is true. But at the same time, it's fallacious when you think about it because now you have mob rule. So the founding fathers evened the playing field with population. So you have representatives now based on population and all that, but you still have a mostly fair playing field when it comes to the presidential election. But now you have states that are dealing with the same problem that the founding fathers headed off with our country, because now you have counties and towns and everything who are not being properly represented, who are mostly conservative, who hate the way their government is being run in their state and can't do diddly squat about it because they get outvoted every time by the liberals who are in downtown Los Angeles or whatever.
Downtown San Fran.
Millions of liberals who are, they just can't. So what is the logic?
City,
so what
Chicago,
would be the logical
Detroit, Seattle.
Solution to that? Splitting into two states.
Decentralize.
Decentralize. Something. Some kind of voting reform. So that doesn't happen.
We have gone so far off from Uvalde at this point.
Well, but it comes down to the point where you can't depend on police. Obviously, you can't depend on police to do their job. In fact, you can expect now, I guess it's now going to be a normal thing to be stopped from actually doing the right thing. Now, look, I'm not against police, but I have actually always been critical when police were doing the wrong thing. I was part of a Facebook group a couple years back, and I lasted all of one day. I joined. It was a pro police. It was a pro police Facebook group. It was Back the Blue or something like that. And all I did, by the way, and this is for you because it was a conservative group. It was a conservative Facebook group. Back the Blue.
And we do back the blue.
We do. We are for police.
Absolutely.
But I am not for police abusing their power. And I'm not for police taking and abusing people and taking away their constitutional rights.
Or standing by and doing absolutely nothing while
or just completely not doing the job. Or if you're at the very least, if you're just choosing to call out that day, or just like, I'm just going to stand here and just watch this happen. But well, first off, you can actually get sued for that because there are actually laws that require anybody who is an EMT or a EMT or anybody who is in uniform. I learned this when I was actually in EMT school a few months ago, which I'm not in anymore. But if you are in uniform, you are required by law to intervene if something happens. If you're in uniform, if you're not in uniform, you can choose not to intervene if you don't want to. Obviously, the moral code would be to intervene if you see something happen and you can do something about it. But if you are in uniform, you have to intervene. You can actually be prosecuted for not and sued for not intervening. If you are in, you don't even have to be on duty. You don't even have to be earning a paycheck. If you're driving home and you're in uniform, this is something that I learned. And you see something happen, you are obligated to stop and intervene. So even if the police decided, I'm not going to do my job that day, okay, let us go in there. But no, they have to stop the people who are trying to do what they're supposed to be doing, unarmed, by the way. At what point do we say decentralize, strip that? What would that look like? I had something written down.
This, I'm not sure where he's going with this. This is new ground here.
Oh, yeah, okay. So this is another thing that I keep hearing conservatives say, well, if things go sideways, what?
If things go sideways?
No, I'm saying like if things get go sideways.
Okay.
Yeah. You know what I'm talking about.
I got what you're saying now.
If the federal government has like lost all of its screws, which it's pretty close to anyway, nuts and bolts and everything, and they start I'm saying if we were actually in a full-fledged revolution, what would that look like? I keep hearing conservatives saying, well, there's no way that cops in the army wouldn't back the conservative side. I think Uvalde shooting kind of proves otherwise. Why would you say that you trust the cops or the army? Because here's the thing. I work in a particular field it gives me the ability to kind of see this up close. It doesn't matter if these police officers are conservative or not, they're going to want to keep their jobs.
The fatal flaw of the military mindset as a whole is that, okay, this is a good thing and a bad thing.
How long have we been on?
I have no idea.
Over an hour. Okay.
Yeah, I figured. The individual rational thought process gets stripped away from you, and you are turned into a follower. You are turned into someone who just obeys orders. That is highly praised in the military. You follow orders, you get promoted. You don't even have to be that good.
And we're not even saying that following orders is bad.
Right. No. But you shouldn't have followed the orders in Uvalde.
No. See, those police did follow orders.
They followed orders.
But they failed
were told not to
do
anything.
a basic moral act of selfless sacrifice, which is, by the way, in their job description of being a police officer,
police officers still take
they completely
an oath,
failed
right?
to take action. But here's the thing: you probably talked to 19 of those police officers. I'm gonna say, I'm just to make a wild guess here. At least half are probably more conservative minded, yet they still failed. Because most cops, I'm not going to say most cops.
A fairly
nowadays,
good percentage.
But the conservatives have fallen into this lie. And I told you from the beginning, we're not going to mince words. We're going to tick some people off. Conservatives in general have fallen into this lie of, well, the army will back us. We have the army because the liberals, they're anti-military, which they were like maybe a decade ago. Okay, they're not so much anti-military anymore. In fact, right now, they're more pro-military, but they actually have an agenda behind the military, and they're starting to transgender the military, which is a whole different topic. Liberals are not anti-military. They're no longer anti-military, first off. It used to be that it was a conservative talking point, support our troops. If you saw that on a bumper sticker, if you saw that hanging in somebody's window, you could peg that person as a conservative. That is no longer the case. That was maybe the case 10 years ago. No longer the case. The lines have blurred in that area. But the conservatives have mainly fallen into a lie because you saw it. You saw it last year where cities were burning.
Yes.
BLM was going around burning cities for 8 months straight. The cops did nothing to stop it. So where's that argument now? Where's that argument now where if things get hairy, which they did, literally cities burning, that's not false. Where's that argument now? How do you still justify that argument of believing that cops and the army or the military, whatever, is still going to back us when things get hairy?
In fact, we know that it's actually the conservatives who are going to be targeted because we are currently being targeted. Like you said, last year, 8 months of burning and looting, rioting from BLM. Not really any recourse happened to them. Not really anything. But then again, what happened back on January 6th? And look at the absolute firestorm.
Nothing burned, by the way.
There were no burns.
One person died.
One death.
One person died, and it wasn't a police officer. One person died. It was originally reported that multiple police were injured or there was multiple casualties, at the very least. False. False. Nothing burned down. No fires were started.
Yeah,
they broke a couple windows.
Couple broken windows.
And messed up Nancy Pelosi's desk. Big, I'm going to say it, big freaking whoop. Big freaking whoop.
And yet they are making a gigantic, this is the biggest insurrection in history, blah, 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 blah. I'm sorry. 8 months of burning, looting, and rioting America's cities from BLM was not enough to create a media firestorm.
And while we're on the topic,
a couple hours on January 6th is?
While we're on the topic, I know, down deep in your heart, you conservatives, okay? I know, even though you don't want to admit it. All right? It's in there. It's in there somewhere. You're like, man, I'm actually really, really happy that January 6th happened because now they are scared out of their ever-loving minds and they can see that we get fed up. Well, I mean, it wasn't even real quick. We didn't even get fed up real quick because it took us a long time to get there.
We're very patient.
But we finally reached a breaking point. And I'm okay with saying this because guess what? That's exactly what the founding fathers intended for us to do when our government was corrupt. There is no one with half a brain that is saying that Joe Biden got elected legitimately. I don't care who you are. A guy who stayed in his basement, can barely talk, apparently can't even stay on a bicycle while standing still. can say that he got the most
He's
votes.
an old man.
No one can say and actually believe it. He got the most votes out of any president ever, which they're trying to tout. And okay, this is why January 6th happened. Okay, because we all called that bullcrap. We're like, no, there's no way this guy got voted in over Trump, who had won over multiple Democrats. What was that organization called?
Democrats for Trump?
Sure, well, that one, but there was another one. It was liberals who changed their mind about Trump. It wasn't Democrats for Trump. It was something else. It was actually called...
yeah, I don't remember.
Okay, anyway, maybe I'll think. It was a massive movement. It was a massive movement.
Yeah. Oh, are you talking about Brandon Strzok Walk Away?
Yes, Walk Away.
Oh, the Walk Away campaign.
Walk Away campaign. Massive movement. Massive. Okay, those people went out and voted for Trump. Liberals.
Yeah, they didn't turn around and vote for Biden the next time.
Trump, a man who made all, and this is all statistically factual, by the way, multiple what am I looking for? Who made so much progress in the Black community, in the Latin America community.
Yes.
You had people changing their minds about Trump. Okay, you had the never Trumpers who dwindled away into a little corner because they're the spineless little fetal people they are. But you had Trump, who gained massive momentum during his 4 years, okay? Changed people's minds because they actually saw a change in the nation while he was president. They saw it, and they saw it more importantly in their pocketbook.
Yeah.
Because that's what Americans vote on, is their pocketbook. And you're going to say that Biden, this guy who can't even say his name, doesn't even know he's president when he wakes up in the morning, can't even sit on a bicycle while it's standing still, got voted in more than him, first off, but also got the most votes out of any president ever? No. We all call bullcrap, which is why we showed up on January 6th. And I know Ben Shapiro, I hate to disagree with him about this, but Ben's like, well, there's just no evidence.
There's no credible evidence.
No credible evidence. Okay, there might not be
there was election
credible
fraud.
evidence. First off, let's forget about the fact that Trump's lawyers weren't even allowed to present evidence, and they were shot down immediately when they tried to actually do the lawsuits in multiple states. Let's forget about that, because the evidence did exist. We all saw it. I mean, we all saw it. The Pennsylvania, there's actually voter fraud evidence coming out now, which I'm not sure why he isn't reporting on that.
It's coming out in Pennsylvania. It's coming out in Arizona. It's coming out all over the place.
That's why January 6th happened, and that is exactly what the Second Amendment was for. No one was armed, by the way, at January 6th, except for the police officers. Okay? And, but we made a statement. And I'm okay with saying that I was okay with January 6th. I don't know. I know you're afraid to say it. I know you are. I'm not going to mince words.
I would rather us not have, like, broken windows.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing. The reason why you're not okay saying that is because the left has convinced you that you have to have their measuring stick too and compare yourself with them. Comparing January 6th to the BLM riots, it's not the same thing.
No, it's not. Not
even close to the same thing. Happened for completely different. BLM was not, they'll claim, well, it's out of racial injustice, blah, blah. Something that's completely made up. I already talked about this in a different video. It is okay to tell people they're wrong without trying to stoop yourself to their level.
Yes.
And compare yourself on their measuring rod, okay?
Yes.
Stop using their measuring stick, because you know, and we know, that we are morally, most of the time, morally upright, believe in God, believe in moral absolutes. We know we are right. We know what our American values stand for. We know what we are defending. They are changing that.
We do not have to justify ourselves to their feelings.
Right. Stop stop stooping to their level and saying, okay, well, yeah, but January 6th is wrong because BLM is wrong, and yeah, I don't agree with January 6th because we did it too, but it wasn't that bad. No, stop it.
When did it become a crime to be offended?
Stop it. We were doing the exact thing that the founding fathers intended.
Like,
standing up for our tyrannical government, corrupt government.
Exactly.
We were doing exactly what we were supposed to be doing. Who cares about the broken windows? I'm just going to say it. Who cares? Who cares about the broken windows?
We, the people, own those buildings anyway?
And that's a whole different argument, too. But stop using their measuring stick and applying it to us, because it doesn't work. And it's making conservatives on a large scale. They're starting
spineless.
To be spineless, and they're starting to, what Michael Knowles would say, squishes. It's making them squishes. Well, I have to concede January 6th because it was technically violent, and no, it wasn't. It wasn't. So, at what point?
I mean, on January 6th, you literally had some of the Capitol Police just opening the door and letting people in.
Something has to be done. Going back to our original point with the Uvalde police, when you can't, and that's a localized government. What happens when you see something in your localized, centralized government and law enforcement, a failure of this magnitude? What are you supposed to do?
Yeah, what are you going to do?
Especially when they're arresting you.
Exactly. When you're being arrested.
Doing the thing that they're supposed to be doing.
What are you going to do when you're put in handcuffs for trying to protect your child? Because that's what happened to these parents at Uvalde.
So, realistically, what I'm hoping is going to happen is that all 19 of these police officers are going to be prosecuted to the fullest extent for inaction. Okay, I don't... If they get off or acquitted...
accessory to murder.
If they get off because they get acquitted because they were just following orders, not good enough. Not good enough. Bad order. That goes beyond bad order. It was completely immoral to sit there for an hour and a half.
77
An hour and a half. You're sitting outside of this doorway, listening to children scream. By the way, and 9/11 calls being made while you're in there by kids who are saying, there are dead people. Come in, please. Sitting there for an hour and a half, hearing them scream, hearing this psychopath slowly executing these children. You really going to tell me that you had an excuse to just sit there and watch or listen to that when you know you could have done something? Anything. Not good enough. Not even close to not good enough. Completely unacceptable, reprehensible, disgusting. Complete and utter failure. And I understand that these police officers are probably going to live with regret for the rest of their life about this, as they should, by the way. And if some of them are feeling that regret now, good. But it doesn't escape the consequences of what you did or what you failed to do. So anyway, I know this was a long video tonight, but we really had to get all that stuff off of her chest. And I thought we had a lot of good talking points, which is why I asked her if we wanted to do a video tonight. Let us know what you think.
Yeah, I thought we were sleeping tonight, but...
Well, it's not 11 o'clock yet, so... Let us know what you think. We'd love to hear back from you guys. Please give us some feedback. And hit the subscribe button. If you're watching and not subscribed, please hit that subscribe button.
Yes,
and the like button. Help us out. If you like our content, please let us know. We're a little new at this. We're starting out, but
If you don't like our content, please let us know.
Or that. Just start a dialogue would be good enough. And hope you guys have a good night.
Thank you very much.